everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is a show we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California. We are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
We also have joining us AMC's production manager, Mr. Dennis Sen.
Greetings, everyone. I got to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes last night.
I know, I don't want to hear a freaking thing.
It's bleeping awesome.
Really?
Rub it in.
Is that good? Okay, awesome.
Rub it in. We also have the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, Mr. John Schnepp.
Whatever, Dennis got to see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Whatever. I'm going to see it with the rest of the regular people on Thursday night.
Well, last night I got to watch Slither, so that's almost as good. Hey, folks, before we get started, I want to remind you, we are now literally 2 weeks away from Comic-Con. So just a reminder, if you guys are planning on getting down to Comic-Con, we have our annual AMC Masters of the Web panel going on the Thursday morning at 11:30 a.m. in Convention Room 24A, B, and C, all at the same time. Come on down and join us. We got myself, John Schnepp, we've got Jeremy Johns, we've got Tiffany Smith, we've got Mark Ellis and Christian Harloff, and of course our special guest this year, since our theme is comic book movies, Mr. Mano Bennett from Arrow and Spartacus and The Hobbit and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a really good time. And we're going to be signing autographs and stuff like that at John Schnepp's booth on Thursday and Saturday. Looks like we got a meet and greet going on too on the Friday night. So stay tuned for all the details, and we can't wait to see you down there.
Let's see if anyone will dress up this year from the AMC
team.
I was the only one last year, so let's see.
I might.
All right. The first trailer for the upcoming Ridley Scott film Exodus: Gods and Kings has just been released online. The film stars Christian Bale, Joel Edgerton, Aaron Paul, John Turturro, Sigourney Weaver, and Ben Kingsley. The film tells the story of one man's daring courage to take on the might of an empire. It follows a defiant leader, Moses, played by Bale, as he rises up against the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses, played by Edgerton, setting 600,000 slaves on a monumental journey of escape from Egypt and its terrifying cycle of deadly plagues. Exodus: Gods and Kings opens in AMC theaters everywhere December 12th. John, what did you think of the trailer for Exodus: Gods and Kings?
Well, when I got past my initial whitewash shock, because here's the thing, I'm really one of these guys, I don't really care much. I mean, I don't care if you get a British guy playing a traditionally American character. I don't care if you get an American guy playing a traditionally that character or whatever, because actors are actors. They get on cameras and pretend to be things that they're not actually in real life. So I never usually worry about that kind of stuff. And when the announcement was made about the cast initially, I still didn't worry about it. It's like, whatever. They went for the best actors, and they look at the acting caliber they got in this. You can't blame them for going out and getting the best actors. But even though I have that kind of an attitude, and I really didn't care about the cast that they got, I just want to see a good movie, when the trailer first started playing, I have to admit, I was hit with a little bit of whitewash shock. It did hit me a bit. Now, once I got over that and just said, okay, just get into the trailer and the story, it felt really good. This is my favorite trailer probably to a Ridley Scott film that we've seen in a while. And like I said after The Counselor, Ridley Scott no longer gets the benefit of the doubt with me. He's just put out too many bad movies in the last number of years. But you still hold out hope because he's frickin' Ridley Scott. I love the width and the breadth of this whole trailer. It felt like it was really an old-style Hollywood biblical epic. And a little bit more than what he just brought us even in a great film like Gladiator. I gotta tell you, by the end of the trailer, I was like, yeah, count me in. I'm gonna go. I'm looking forward to this. Anyway, Dennis, you saw. What did you think?
So visually, I thought it looked fantastic. But speaking of the whitewashing, like, I couldn't get over it. I mean, with Christian Bale as Moses, okay, like, he's an English guy. He could, if someone told me he was part Jewish, I could buy that, right? But Joel Edgerton as Pharaoh Ramses, he looks nothing. He doesn't look Egyptian at all. Sigourney Weaver looks out of place. I mean, they could have found someone. Not necessarily, I mean, obviously they'd want someone Egyptian or Middle Eastern or someone that at least could look like that. Someone like you know, like Cliff Curtis. He's actually from New Zealand, and I think he comes from like a Polynesian tribe, but he's played all different types of races, right? Like someone that just at least has that look. And so throughout the entire trailer, all I could think of is how silly Joel Edgerton looked. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal actor. I loved him in Warrior, I loved him in Animal Kingdom and all that stuff, but I just couldn't get over it.
Schnepp?
Yeah, he looked like a tranny Yul Brenner. That's what he looked like to me while I was watching the trailer. I thought, yeah, I mean, talking about whitewash, it just, like, I mean, I couldn't help but laugh when I saw the shot of Sigourney Weaver, who's a great actress, but it just seems like it's almost cartoony. Like, it's about time we, like, if we're going to keep moving forward in our society, like, and we are making things that took place in ancient Egypt, or just cast it accordingly. I mean, it's just silly to me. I mean, above and beyond that, the trailer looks great, the special effects look great, all the costumes look great. You know, as far as a trailer goes, like, we've seen a bunch of really great Ridley Scott trailers, some for some great movies, some for some stinkers. Right. So trailers to me at this point, as far as him, I agree, they're not a big sell for me, but you know, I mean, I kind of shrugged when I watched it. I was a little disappointed. So. But
do you think it was just the whole, like, how they look?
To be honest with you, that's what kind of threw me off. Because especially after Lone Ranger, I've become even more painfully aware of that as we move forward in a society. Whereas this isn't the 50s. This isn't Cecil B. DeMille. Let's move forward consciously. It's a giant world. The internet. We're connected. Let's not be stupid.
See, I have a little bit of a difference in my head. Like, because remember, I was really, and I still am, very ticked off at the whole notion. Very against the idea that they got Johnny Depp to play Tonto. Because, like, the difference between, like, this situation and that situation with Lone Ranger was, like, with Lone Ranger, you're talking about the single biggest iconic role in the history of Hollywood in Tonto for Native Americans, right? That is the most iconic, biggest, most well-known, popular one there is. It is the icon in the Hollywood sphere, anyway, of that type of role. And that you went out and got a white dude to play? That felt really weird to me. To this, it's a much lesser degree.
Really,
for
this is
like
bigger
me.
than me. To me,
think
it's
so?
this is the
Yeah.
Bible,
There's
dude.
probably others.
This is the Bible. You know,
Charlton
this is
Heston did it.
I know, but that's like I said, Cecil B. DeMille. Now we're in a
Yeah.
different. This is an F troop, yo. This is 2014.
Well, you know what's different for me though is that I'm not defending the Johnny Depp as Tonto thing, but at least it's Johnny Depp. Like, okay, we're trying to sell movie tickets. Joel Edgerton, I love him, right? Most of the people don't, like my parents don't know who the hell Joel Edgerton is.
Right.
They know who Christian Bale is, but so you can't say, okay, we need to get this big name to sell these tickets. You already got Christian Bale. So the point with Lone Ranger, like I said, not defending it, at least like, okay, people don't know Armie Hammer, get a Johnny Depp in there, right? Didn't really work, but for this one, it's, yeah, Joel Edgerton is not a big name.
The big question is going to be, once we sit down and start watching the movie, can our heads do that, adaptation, say, okay, just accept this, and can you then just enjoy the movie after that? That's going to be the trick. If the movie can make us do that, It's got a shot. All right, what's next?
It's being reported that Universal Pictures and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are preparing to launch a new action franchise based on the Robert Ludlum novel, The Jansen Directive. Ludlum was also the author behind the Bourne Identity books, which Universal created a successful film franchise for as well. Schnepp, what do you think of Universal creating a new action thriller franchise around The Rock?
It's about time. I mean, The Rock deserves his own franchise. He's been like second fiddle to a bunch of other people's franchises, and sure, he's been the lead in a bunch of things. Like we'll see him in Hercules, but this is something we see is, hey, we're going to start just like a Bourne. This is the Ludlow franchise starring The Rock. I mean, it makes me interested in like investigating what the books are,
right?
To see just what the take is that The Rock. They're going to probably have to transform because I'm sure the Ludlow whatever conspiracy or whatever wasn't like a 6'4" like giant hulking figure like The Rock. The Rock's he casts an intimidating shadow, so it might have just been some schlub detective. I don't have no idea, but I'm interested. I think The Rock deserves it. He's got a lot of charisma. We'll smell what he's cooking, I guess.
And I'll tell you, here's the thing that makes me excited about this. This is going to sound really odd, but it's The Rock's relatively small part in Get Smart with Steve Carell, where he was supposed to play the more dapper, debonair, smooth super spy in that film. And seeing him do that, because if it wasn't for that role, I might go, okay, I can see him as the big, intimidating, athletic, monster of a guy, but could I buy him as the really suave, smooth, sophisticated super spy? But I did see him in that little spoof of a comedy, and he did it really well. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm all on board for it.
I'm all for this. I think he plays an ex-Navy SEAL or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's great that they're making a franchise out of him because he deserves one. I just hope it's not too similar to the Bourne franchise. We don't want to see the Bourne franchise, but The Rock in Matt Damon's role. We want something different, and hopefully they can play to his strengths. His charisma. You were talking about his physical, imposing figure, something like that, as opposed to just being Bourne Part 2 with The Rock, because we don't need to see that, and The Rock is, just a different figure than something like Matt Damon. We don't want to see him all serious the whole time.
Now, if I'm not saying, he plays an ex-Marine who then leaves the service to start a private security consulting firm. So this sounds interesting to me. I'm on board.
I am sure, like Pain and Gain. I got to refer to that. His acting chops in that. A Michael Bay film, surprise. He was great in it. I love that.
Pain and Gain, his acting in Snitch.
Snitch was the one that
Faster was another.
I thought he was really good in
Amazing
Faster.
film.
Very few people saw it, oddly enough. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then Schnepp, Dennis, and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
It would seem that Ridley Scott has caught the biblical epic bug, as it is now being reported that Scott and his production company is teaming with 20th Century Fox and Chernin Entertainment, who co-produced Exodus, for a big screen epic based on the Old Testament hero King David. The untitled biblical movie will be written by Jonathan Stokes, and it will follow David in his time as king of Israel after the slaying of Goliath. No word yet on if Scott would direct the David film himself or not. Dennis, buy or sell Ridley Scott developing a film on David?
I'm tentatively going to sell it. I'm not opposed to biblical epics. I mean, Noah was one of my favorite movies this year so far. I'm just not so sure. Like, we haven't seen Exodus, hasn't come out yet. We haven't seen We don't know if it's good. We don't know if it's going to be financially going to be a bomb or a hit. And so, you were talking about with Ridley Scott, he doesn't get a pass anymore because, I like Prometheus, but I know a lot of people didn't, and some of his other movies weren't so great. I didn't see the whole movie of The Counselor, but I saw parts of it, and it was as bad as people were saying it was.
You know what? I think you nailed it right on the head. It is so hard to say buy. I'm going to tentatively for now buy it, but it's hard until after we see Exodus. I think we're going to have a lot more pessimism or a lot more optimism about something like a David. But the reason I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for now is because, to me, David is actually one of the most fascinating biblical characters. If you read the stories of David, because he is truly the flawed hero. He's a very flawed person. I mean, there's this one story about David where, he's the great king, he slayed Goliath, yay! But he's also the same dude who decided he had a crush on this chick, but she was married. So I'm just happened to send her husband off to one of our wars on the front line so he can die, so I can take his wife. That's the same dude. And I always find stories about characters that are also deeply flawed really interesting. But it comes back to what you said before. You're exactly right. It depends on Exodus. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to sideways buy it. How about that? I think Scott is going to try to make this his unofficial prequel to Prometheus, and Goliath is going to be one of the engineers. And David killed one of the, he's the one who was sent back to murder the planet. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds it could be interesting.
I want to see that movie now. I totally want to see that.
That's the one, Paradise Lost. Yeah. What, David?
All right, what's next?
The first official poster for the upcoming Kevin Smith film Tusk has just hit the web. Tusk was inspired by a story about a man who is shipwrecked and befriends a walrus, then hires someone to dress up in a walrus suit for 2 hours a day in an attempt to recapture that friendship. At San Diego Comic-Con last year, the filmmaker described Tusk as a cuddly version of the human centipede. John, buy or sell this new poster for Tusk?
I really like this poster. This is one of the best posters we see. Now, I usually like posters that capture an element in the spirit of the film and whatever, and this is really more almost abstract and conceptually and everything, but when you know what the movie's about, that poster it reminds me a lot of a Tim Burton poster too in many ways. Beautiful stylistically. I think it looks really good, so for me it's a buy. Dennis?
I'll buy the poster. I'm not 100% sold on the movie itself yet, but I do like, I haven't seen Human Centipede, and I don't think I ever will.
No, you don't need to.
Just the premise alone, I'm like, no, I don't need to see that. But with Tusk, I am interested, especially of how the movie came about, how it was, what was it, like an ad in a paper or something like that?
Something weird like that.
And then
that caught
so Kevin Smith decided to talk about it on his podcast, and they just came up with a backstory on the fly, and then they later found out it was a prank by some guy, and now he's like a producer on the film. So all that stuff interests me.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I'm going to buy the poster. I think the poster is fantastic. It does have a lyrical, like Burton-y type of like creepy fairy tale vibe to it. It's a beautiful poster, and it comes with just everything's right there. It tells you the story. Creepy house, walrus dressed up, weird human centipede style stuff. I say see the first human centipede. Don't see the second human centipede. That's the second one is the one that totally is a gross out, goes too far, is horrifying. The first one is more like, I would say it's akin to a Hammer film. You never actually see anything. It's all off screen. It's all implied. So, and it's very funny. It's incredibly humorous. And I was really against it for a long time. I was, I'm not going to see that ass-to-mouth, weird, creepy human centipede movie. And then finally a couple other critic friends of mine were like, dude, it's like this, it's like that, you'll like it. I gave it a shot. I was like, wow, it was, I hate to say it, fun. So
I did not find it fun. If you want to watch the Human Centipede, instead of watching the first one or the second one, what I would recommend is watching the South Park episode based on the Human Centipede and Apple. That episode is hilarious. Okay, what's next?
All I can think of is that show Wilfred with Elijah Wood, where he walks around with a drunk dog. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's all I think about when he says that. All right, sorry. Disney is now moving ahead with a live-action adaptation of its classic story, Dumbo. According to reports, Disney has brought on Transformers writers Ern Kruger to write the script and produce the film. Schnepp, buy or sell a live-action Dumbo movie with Ren Kruger writing?
I sell it. I wonder which Disney executives are Dumbo. You know, why would they hire Aaron Kruger, the guy who wrote Transformers 4? I sometimes wonder when I hear this, are there only like 10 writers in Hollywood? That they're like, well, we've got to pick from, and that's what I hear when I hear executives picking stuff like this. Well, we got to pick from this one pool of people. What about that dude? His film made $100 million. Oh, yeah, get that guy. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. It's honestly, I mean, it's kind of shocking, you know.
I sell this huge, and you know, when I first read Disney moving ahead with live-action Dumbo, I thought, okay, good move.
Yep.
It's been working really well for you with films like Maleficent and others. Yeah, good move. Kruger, the guy who wrote Blood and Chocolate, like seriously, one of the worst films made in the past 10 years. The same guy who did Brothers Grimm, a movie that should have and could have been good.
Yeah.
The same guy who wrote Skeleton Key. Mm-hmm. The guy who wrote Transformers 2, 3, and 4. Look, I love Disney. I think they're an incredibly bright group of executives over there. They've steered that ship beautifully. Obviously, they make a few crap movies here and there, but every studio will when you're taking risks. I have no idea what their thought process is here. I'm stunned.
I was just going to mention Transformers 4. I'm glad you went through the list because it really is astonishing when you're like, look, here's like several thousand other amazing writers in Hollywood.
Like, did you see Blood and Chocolate?
Yeah.
Did you see Blood and Chocolate? That movie is so bad. Skeleton Key, so bad. Horrible. All these things are just terrible. I don't know. Okay, well, folks, it is time for, I believe it's time for Mailbag. Yes, it's time for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime.
Tell me what Dennis's opinion on.
Oh, I totally forgot Dennis's thing. I do that sometimes. Sometimes skip a person, Dennis.
It's okay.
Kruger, but I don't think you're going to say anything that's different than we're going to say.
I don't think so. It is definitely a sell. I looked at some of his previous stuff way back in the day. He had some decent stuff before, like The Ring. And a few others that were.
But that was
okay.
An adaptation of an pre-existing
of course,
film.
but he did okay job with it. Yeah. So yeah, more recently with all the Transformers film 2, 3, and 4, and I think it is indicative more of that type of thinking where, hey, he wrote a successful film and not looking at why the film was successful. They don't look at like, okay, this made whatever $300, $400 million. We know that the screenwriter and the screenplay was not the reason why Transformers made so much money.
No.
Yeah.
But it's that, like, I want to be attached to success. So, like, I guess in their minds, his track record is good.
Because I've always dreamed about seeing Megatron going, no, the Autobots are ruining everything. I've always wanted to see that. That was brilliant, right?
Yeah, how are they going to do this? From the writer of Transformers 4 comes a beautiful Disney classic.
Yeah.
Dumbo.
All I can figure is maybe maybe Disney lined up meetings with 10 to 12 writers to come and give them their individual pitches, and maybe he gave them a great pitch. Maybe. Now we're gonna do mailbag. Hey, I'm not gonna go through the whole spiel again. But by the way, if you're watching us live though, we're gonna save a few minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions. So just start tweeting to us at AMC Movie News. Like I said, we're going to save a few minutes at the end of the show. Chris Lee will pick out some of that time, but for now, let's get to the mailbag.
Hunter writes, how bad do you think A Million Ways to Die in the West hurt Seth MacFarlane's directing career? I hope he continues to make good, hilarious movies, but this movie's poor box office return might hurt those chances, don't you think?
Yeah, you can't, especially, look, he came out and did Ted, and then basically for a very small window, it's like, hey man, whatever you want to do next, we'll give it a shot. Like, it was so successful, it was so funny. Then he did Million Ways to Die in the West. Not an enjoyable film. It certainly had its moments. Million Ways to Die in the West had its moments, but for me, considering how much I love Ted, it was a big drop off for me. It was a big disappointment to me, and it lost the studio probably about $10 million when it was all said and done. When you, in just your second film, lose the studio like $10 million, everything now backs off. It'll all come down to what Ted 2 does. If Ted 2 can recapture that magic, then MacFarlane's fine. If Ted 2 takes a drop from the original Ted, then you'll probably see studios more apprehensive about running on something with Seth MacFarlane writing and directing it. So we're probably just going to have to wait and see. But did it affect it? Absolutely affected him. Absolutely. I don't think you're going to hear any big major projects from Seth MacFarlane other than maybe a Family Guy movie. I don't think you're going to hear any other big, even modestly budgeted stuff until studios can see what happens with Ted 2. Anyway, Schnepp, how do you see it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Ted 2, I'm pretty sure is going to make some money, because everybody loved Ted. It depends on how much money it makes, whether then it's just a direct-to-video Ted 3, or he gets here's another haul, here's your next pass, open the bank vaults, you get a second chance if Ted 2 makes a ton of money. Because that's what all the studios are based on. It's a business. It's if people come and see the movie, just the same reason we're going to see a Transformers 5, regardless of whatever we say about it, the people are talking by spending their money, and even if they feel like, oh, I can't believe it was that horrible, sorry, you just spent $20. So you just told the studio you want to see a Transformers 5. So that's the same thing with Million Ways to Die in the West, is nobody wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the opposite of you guys. I think the Million Ways to Die in the West, it lost money, but it wasn't as big as bomb as everyone's thinking it is, because I think it cost $40 to make. It made $72 worldwide or something like that.
Yeah, but when you had marketing take away theater thing, they lost about $10 million on it.
Yeah, but it wasn't a big financial
It wasn't a $100 million
bomb.
loss. Yeah.
And then two, I think the more what it's hurting is Seth MacFarlane as an actor or a lead guy in a role.
Good point.
People look at that movie and go, well, no, we're not going to do that. But I think as far as directing and writing, I think he's fine. I think Ted 2 is going to make a ton of money, and he'll do a ton of other projects. They just won't put him in it, at least in the lead role.
All right, what's next?
Brain Bailey writes, I think it might be Brian, not Brain, but maybe it's Brain. Maybe he's just got a big brain. All right, I need help to resolve a dispute. On Twitter, I suggested that Galaxy Quest deserved to be in the top 5 spoof movies of all time. I believe it makes fun of Star Trek in the best ways, everything from casseroles to zealous fans to Star Trek conventions. Yesterday, Mr. John Cambia responded to my tweet denying that Galaxy Quest is a spoof movie, even though Spaceballs is also on his list. Do you classify Galaxy Quest as a spoof movie?
No, not in the least. It's not a spoof movie at all. It parodies Star Trek a little bit, but a spoof movie is Top Gun, or a Top Secret, I mean. The spoof movie is Airplane. A spoof movie is Spaceballs, where it's all...
Hot Shots.
Yeah, it's all like, it's all just completely circus-like ridiculousness.
Scary Movie 2.
Yeah, exactly. Those are spoofs, when every little thing is like when you can have this scene takes place in the biblical age deserts, and some guy's going to drive through in a Hummer. That's a spoof. Galaxy Quest, which I love Galaxy Quest. It's a parody. I mean, it parodies the whole thing of Star Trek, but once you get past just that parody, it's a comedy sci-fi adventure movie, just like any other comedy sci-fi adventure movie. And you can't say that about real spoof. So I would absolutely say no, it is not a spoof movie. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It's a parody, not a spoof. Spoofs are a lot more silly, and there's kind of like a wink-wink nature to them, like almost like the characters themselves can just start turning to camera and start talking. Where parodies, the characters that are in them, much like another favorite comedy of mine, Tropic Thunder, which kind of has a similar premise to Galaxy Quest, those characters are they're serious. They like actually think what they're doing is like what
Yeah.
they're supposed to be doing. They don't have that like they know they're in a movie feeling.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like your point about turning the camera. Like in Spaceballs, John Candy and Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman goes, "Great, that's all we needed, a Druish princess." And John Candy turns to the camera and goes, "Funny, she doesn't look Druish." And you know, that's spoofing. Anyway,
Yeah,
what do you think?
Airplane,
Yeah.
spoof, based on a whole bunch of disaster movies. Galaxy Quest is like a loving homage to all the things made up of Star Trek, not only the series, but the fans, the creation fan festivals that were going on in the 70s and 80s that turned into Comic-Con and all these explosive, like now, you know, cosplay events of 30, 40,000 people all across America. We see this in all different states. This is saying, hey, check it out. There's a lot of love for these kinds of, you know, weird, small, like 60s and 70s TV shows. Not just Star Trek, which it was definitely, most definitely parodying Star Trek, but it was also parodying a lot of other, like Battlestar, just a lot of the conventional sci-fi cliches, but in a great way, saying, wouldn't it be great if we took this idea of a Star Trek, you know, esque TV show, and then they had to really fight aliens in the real world. So that's not a spoof. That's just a really kick-ass comedy action adventure, and that's what Galaxy Quest is. It's also one of my top 10 you know, science fiction comedies of all time. So it's really enjoyable. But spoof, no.
All right, well, folks, I said we would leave a few minutes at the end of the show for your Twitter questions, and we're going to do just that. You might even still have a little bit of time to get some in under the wire. Tweet to us at AMC Movie News. Crystal, what do we got?
Big Mac wants to know if you guys think stop motion can make a comeback for live action movies.
I think there will always be some room in an annual slate, in an annual, you know, what comes out this year. I always think there will be some room for stop motion stuff, but I don't ever see it becoming like we're going to have 20 major stop motion films this year. I don't see that happening, but I always think there's going to be room for it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sure. Leica is doing Box Trolls.
Yeah.
And you know,
So it's
that's
really interesting.
Yeah, it's a combination. Like, you know, I don't know what the statistics is. It's 70% stop motion, 30% CG and add-on backgrounds and whatnot. It's all a combination nowadays anyway. I mean, most stuff is shot digitally. Then, you know what I mean? So it's like, what are we going to really call stop motion? Is it one dude like Robot Chicken is stop motion? So, I mean, yeah, but it's a specialized tiny fraction of what all of cinema is. So. Is it going to get a boost? Maybe there'll be 2 next year. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. There's not going to be like 30 stop motion films. I can't. Where did all these stop motion films come from? Make them stop.
You know, a lot of people still think Lego was a stop motion film.
Someone,
it's not.
They tried to like correct us, I think, in the spoilers review that we did. Like, it was stop motion. It's like, no, it was CG. They made it look like it was stop motion.
Yeah. But anyway, what do you
like
think?
Paranorman was stop motion.
Yes.
I thought that was great. And so I like seeing them. Obviously, there's not going to be a ton. There's probably going to be like 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah, Paranorman is Leica, the same company with Box Troll. So there's 1 or 2 like major studios that are like, we're all stop motion, and then it takes them 3 years to make a movie. Right. So even then, you're not going to get 1 a year. It's like 1 every 3 years. So, you know.
What do you think about the use of it in like regular movies? Like there was like kind of some stop motion in Noah.
Yes,
they did that throwback to Harryhausen.
That was amazing. Michel Gondry does a lot of stop motion in his films, like paper mache, weird stuff floating around. I love seeing a mix up in especially more experimental films where they try different techniques and such. But I don't know if there's going to be a giant resurgence of stop motion. I've heard several different friends of mine are doing stop motion features. So, you know, come 2016, I think you might see 3 of them.
Transformers, stop motion.
I was going to say, not a lot of people know Transformers 4, most of it's stop motion. All right, what's next?
Sahilk wants to know which movie will be more successful at the box office, Guardians or Apes 2?
Guardians. Oh, sorry, I take that back. Apes 2. Only because, now what's going to be better? I don't know, man. Dennis has seen Apes. I know a couple of people have seen Apes, and some of them are whispering phrases like movie of the year. I saw the 17-minute thing of Guardians, and it's going to be fantastic. But the fact of the matter is, this is a recognizable IP. This is a recognizable franchise. It's coming off an original film that just about everybody loved, and so it's got that going for it. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy is still the most unknown coin toss of a thing that Marvel's done. And even if it's magnificent, it's not going to do Iron Man 3 numbers, you know? It's not going to do Avenger numbers. It's just not going to do that. And they're not expecting it to, and that's not their goal. Their goal is, can it get 300 to 400 million worldwide? And if it can do that, Disney Marvel will consider it a huge success. I think the aspirations for Apes is above that. So I don't think Guardians can beat Apes. Do you guys see it any differently?
No, I think you're right. It's based on, if the first Apes sucked and was terrible, then the Apes 2 wouldn't do so well. But everyone's banking on Apes 2 doing very well. And Guardians, yeah, no one really knows it, especially like casual fans. Everyone thinks like, oh, Guardians. Most people didn't know who when they first announced it. I thought it was like I was telling you. I thought it was those other Guardians of the Galaxy. Right. Most people don't know there's like another Guardians of the Galaxy.
There's another incarnation. And in fact, when I first heard about it, I was like, I heard a Marvel executive told me, and I thought he was joking. I was like, come on, dude. It's going to be the Hulk, right? No, it's Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, get out of here. No way. Like, that's no way to me. I was like, no way. That's impossible. And then they did it, and I think it's a ballsy move. And I personally think it's going to make $100 million opening weekend. Guardians. Why? No. I'm saying it. Why? I think it's word of mouth, buzz, and because it's new and refreshing. That's why I think it's. Everyone wants to see Rocket Raccoon. Everyone wants to see Groot. It looks so much fun. I can't wait to see it. And everyone I've talked to, non-comic fans, are really excited to see Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I'm willing to bet you on this $100 million thing, and I will never hope to lose a bet more than that. But I don't think so.
I will bet you something off screen.
Crystal, what do you think off the top of your head? You think Guardians can beat Apes?
I don't, but I will say this. I think Apes will be bigger for all the same reasons you guys said. The first Apes was so great. But with Guardians, I will say this. I was not excited for Guardians. I remember giving James Gunn a little crap last year at Comic-Con about the whole walking, gun-toting raccoon, and I wanted to be a believer, but I wasn't. And until I saw that 17 minutes of footage, I was not excited, and I could have cared less, and I probably would have waited a while. But seeing that 17 minutes, I'm now a believer, and everyone should see it. But I think it's going to take a couple weeks for the box office to show that.
Did you finally watch the first Apes?
No.
Well, I'm not saying Apes won't make a ton of money. I'm not saying
you just think Guardians will do better.
But I don't even know if it'll do better. I just think it'll make a lot of money. Right. And I like both franchises. Well, I haven't seen Guardians yet, but I love the Apes, so I'm really looking forward to it. So I don't know. To me, it's like never about money. It's whether the films are good. So.
Right. All right, let's fire off with just two more quick.
This is a fun one. Julio Guzman wants to know what your reaction was when you first saw The Big Lebowski, and should we get another movie like this one?
I liked The Big Lebowski. I didn't love it, and I wasn't floored with it. And then I watched it again with some buddies, and I liked it much more. And then I watched it like a third time, and the third time was a charm. I was like rolling on the floor laughing. Yep. It's not like Inglourious Basterds to me, where I absolutely hated it the first time I saw it, and then loved it the second time I saw it. I liked The Big Lebowski, but I didn't think it was all that special. And then I watched it again and again, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is it. I mean, this is really cool. Yeah, what do you guys say?
To me, Lebowski is the gift that keeps on giving. Too, when I first saw it in the theaters, I was like, it's a good Coen Brothers movie. It wasn't as what I wanted from other previous work, but then I saw it again, and I was like, wow, I missed that part, or now I get this part, and now I see it like at least probably once every 2 years, and I love it.
Huge rewatchability factor on that film.
It's such an incredible film. And it's also a strange, awkward beat. Like, you got the dude, you got these weird characters in there that just take a little bit of time to get into. And by the time you really like them, the movie's over. So then when you see the movie again, you're ready for all these characters. And that's why I think the rewatchability is there, because you're like, the dude. You're like, you're in with him immediately. So
I've only seen it once, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't have that kind of cult-like love for the movie.
Gotta see it a second time.
Now you gotta see it a second or third time.
But then, you have to take what I say with a grain of salt, because the Coen Brothers for me are not the end-all be-all. For me, I like the Coen Brothers. I don't love their movies. So.
All right, last one of the day.
Which actors would you like to see in the future Expendables films by Jamie Habits?
Somebody wrote in the other day and asked about, who are they asking about? Pierce Brosnan. I'd like to see Pierce Brosnan. I have no interest in seeing, I was going to say Katie Seagal. Steven Seagal.
Getting ready for Sons, are you?
I'm looking forward to Sons of Anarchy, can you tell? I'm not interested in seeing Steven Seagal in there. Man, I don't know. They're almost run out. Right. I mean, the cupboard's almost bare.
Jackie Chan, I don't know if they could squeeze him in.
That's the only one because remember, they tried to get him in, and they just couldn't make the schedule work out. So he's one that I could still see in there.
The Ong Bak actor, what's his name again?
Tony Jaa.
Tony Jaa.
Tony Jaa could be really good, but unfortunately, the 95% of the North American audience don't know who he is.
Donnie Yen.
Oh, I would love to see Donnie Yen.
Donnie Yen is still badass.
Yeah.
Chow Yun Fat.
Oh, Chow Yun Fat's
Yun.
be a good one, yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Steven Seagal in there just for namesake.
Maybe if he was like just baking muffins.
Kurt Russell?
I mean, yeah, Kurt Russell.
Oh,
Russell.
yeah, that's another good name. Kurt Russell, I could do
They
that
got
one.
Kelsey Grammer in the new one. You can put anyone in there now.
Yeah, but at least he's just like wearing a fishing hat.
He's
or whatever.
fishing. Yeah. It's like
All right, folks, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us today on AMC Movie News. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Absolutely your best movie-going experience is at AMC. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find links to our podcast RSS. You'll also find links to our iTunes feed so you can listen to us on the way to work, listen to us at the gym, whatever you'd like to do. And don't forget, click subscribe, click the thumbs up button, and share this video around. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting to my right, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero. I don't have an Instagram account, so let me know if I should get one.
Yes!
Come on,
Yes!
get on it!
What are you
Someone stole my
waiting for?
name. Someone stole my
That's
name.
right. Sitting right beside him, of course, the one and the only Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You can find me at Instagram.
At Dennis Zen.
Dennis Zen, no, John Schnepp. Come on, Zen, get on it. Instagram, at Twitter, just at John Schnepp. And that's it. That's bye.
Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on all the social media at Chrisley.
And you can find me at the various social media networks just at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.